Good morning. Welcome to binary.com. This is the weekly live room where we're starting at 8 a.m. UK time to look at basically the charts, technical analysis, and price actions. And look what we could expect, maybe, in my view at least, this week. Now, as always, first we go through this PowerPoint basically. Also, this disclaimer explaining that trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and it may not be suitable for all investors. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. And this webinar is for educational and informational purposes only. By continuing watching this webinar, you agree with this disclaimer mentioned here and on the website. So we thank you for that attention. Just in case you're not aware, you can watch the recording at blog.binary.com/weeklytradingroom. All you need to do is place your email and name there, and you'll get an email when the recording is available. So you can either watch live here at 8 a.m. UK time or a few hours later through the recording. Today's goal, the economic calendar, euro dollar, pound dollar, as usual, are majors, dollar yen, AUD USD, and XAU USD. Good. Thanks, Max, for that confirmation, by the way. Great stuff. So today, I was looking at last week. By the way, last week we had NFP. That was positive for the dollar, 288 and 6.1. And the euro interest, the bid rate was there. We had a bank holiday on Friday. This week, what can we expect this week is pretty standard week with the typical red, medium, and lighter news events throughout the week. Today we have, for instance, CAD building permits. We have tomorrow pound manufacturing production. We have Wednesday FOMC. That is, of course, definitely a news event that is higher, even higher than red tag. I mean, this is basically something to be cautious of, very cautious of. The others as well, but even this one a bit more. Aussie on Wednesday, Thursday pound interest rate basically, and then CAD Friday unemployment rate. So with that said, let's take a look at our charts. And Max is, by the way, adding a Thursday would be an important oil day. Let's take a look. We got natural gas storage maybe, and not sure what the other one could be. But that's what Max is saying. So keep an eye on Thursday regarding oil. Thanks, Max, for that extra information there. So let's start with our euro dollar. As always, let's start from the monthly chart. Why the monthly? Because last week we were still in the 30th of June and we were not sure how that June month was really going to end, although we were very close to completing that month. So this is the first session actually after June, the first Monday after the June had been completed. And what do we see? Well, we see that June was a bullish candle. What else do we see? The close of that candle was very near the high. So that means that the candle close very close to the June high and looking much like a pin bar, in fact. And all today's or this month's price action could be retracement of last month's bullish pin bar. So I would say that the low of last month, which is 135.03, is a key level. If we break that level, there is a chance, a decent chance, to see further acceleration to the downside, and we might see a challenge of, for instance, these bottoms right in here. That's pretty far distance. We don't necessarily have to drop, of course, all that distance in 1 week, or we might never drop that distance, or maybe never is a strong word, but not sometime soon. But that space is potentially possible within the next weeks or months if we break 135. So that would be the downside potential space. If we don't break last week's low and we maybe break above last week's high, we have a potential to retest the 140 resistance. So those are the crucial lines, I would say, at the moment. This monthly high and low, excuse me, last month's high and low there. That will give some indication where the bigger break will happen. You can see here on the weekly chart we have some other support levels to deal with. That was basically the monthly chart we were looking at. If you look at the weekly chart, obviously we see some support levels here and here prior to hitting that lower level on the monthly. But you can see a strong level here, two bottoms. So the break of that would really indicate a potential bearish trend here. If we don't break it, then there is that chance to see a retracement like this for more upside. That is my main scenario. I'm still thinking that this could be retracement for upside, unless of course we break this 135 level. So if I put a fib on this upside, price is at the 61.8. Any of these fibs could be the bouncing spot. 61.8, 78.6, 88.6. All of these could be potential bouncing spots. And we'll have to see how this, if it bounces, how does it bounce? How fast does it move? Because the other scenario is that because we've been already ranging here for days and days and days, weeks actually, in the meantime, this has been like a tremendous consolidation of about 34 weeks already. Price could bounce here, but it could go back up and then find resistance again and move down. It could stay within this consolidation. We don't know. Summer is approaching. We don't necessarily have to get a big breakout. It could be a big consolidation continuation. Just something we just don't know. The only thing we do have a decent chance of probability of anticipating is the fact that there could be a bounce here and there might be resistance back up here again. And if we break that level, then I would say the chances of going to these targets increase. On the 4 hour, excuse me, let's take a look at that. There we got it. 4 hour, basically this is looking very much like a break of a trend line, which it is. All right, we just know how far it will go. If you look at the hourly, you can see that it's looking a bit like a falling wedge with some divergence between these top bottoms. Excuse me. So if price manages to break above this falling wedge, it could be the first indication that we are heading back north. It could be, it's a bit on the early side, an early confirmation, but it is possible. So that's basically what's going on right now in the euro dollar. Downside momentum, yes. Big fall, yes. But is it likely to continue? We just don't know. It's really difficult to say. If anything, we are getting close to support levels, but the support bounce could be from lower as well before we move up. So that is the question. And if I look at the hourly, it doesn't look like there's a lot of space left, but sometimes they can keep falling further than we think. So I'll keep an eye on these tops right in here, that level right there. I think this is a good idea. About 136 probably, plus this falling wedge. If price breaks above it and hooks back, that could be a good bouncing spot. If it doesn't break above it and bounces one more time off that 136, we might see extensions further down to that 78.6 fib. Which 78.6 fib? This one at 135.50. Let's take a look at pound dollar. Pound dollar is different because it is in a massive uptrend. Now, why do I say uptrend? Let's start here too from the very, very top. Weekly chart. Look at this monthly candle of June towering outside or above the resistance 170.40. And why is that important? Well, first of all, it's a monthly chart, so obviously there's a lot of price action in a month like that. Second of all, that 170.40 level was a high of August 2009. That high basically is something that happened only about 5 years ago. And before that, 6 years ago, roughly. So it's something that hasn't happened in a long time. Price hasn't been in these levels for, as I said, more than close to 5 years, or was once in this neighborhood. So obviously it's a pretty big thing. Now if you look at the weekly chart, last week was again a bullish candle. So this is a strong uptrend. Obviously not only the weekly candles, but I should mention also this entire structure is bullish. Look at this. Upside, 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 upside. This channel representing a very nice bullish uptrend. So the monthly and weekly candles and charts looking very bullish. The daily, you can see ever since we broke out of these bull flags here, and then this one, we've had follow through all the time to the upside. Follow through, follow through, follow through, here and here. So it's a tremendous uptrend, and the question is, are we finished with this particular upside? All right. So that is looking very strong, but will we continue? Do we see one more potential to the upside, or is this actually, the very last push before we get maybe a retracement back to the bottom of the channel? That always remains the question. We can use the oscillator to get a bit of an indication of that. If you look at this basically this AO, we can see that it's still trending on the 4 hour daily. So let's take a look at the 4 hour if we see any exhaustion signals. Before I do that, actually, um, let me zoom in. I'm not sure, Max, which time frame you were looking at. We were looking at when you asked me this, but let's assume the daily or the monthly. Sure. Zoom out, right? So I'll zoom out. That's the monthly. So you see a big upside from 2000 to 2007, and you see the financial crash, basically, crisis, letting this crash down strongly back to this bottom. And what we've had so far is basically kind of like a wedge here. You see that slower movement compared to the up and down. And now we are actually, in a way, we're breaking out of that wedge to the upside. So the question is, how far could that wedge go? If we put a fib on the very first leg of that up move, like this, we see that 180 is a minus 272 target. So yeah, that is something that I think is possible for the pound. Will it get there? We don't know. But that would be my initial first target. Now we've broken this top. But let's see. It's a very long target, of course. So good. So great that this helps. So let's take a look at 4 hour chart now. And let's take a look how far has this developed. We had this upside basically so far. So we've seen 5 waves up for those that like added waves, for instance. But more importantly, we are now finally getting divergence between these tops and these tops, right? Between red, green, and red. We didn't have any divergence between orange and green because that was converging, but we do have it between the green and red. Why? This oscillator top is lower than the previous top. So there is divergence at the moment on the 4 hour. So we're getting a bit of a warning that maybe this trend is running out of steam a bit. 1 hour chart, however, isn't as yet because we still have actually convergence. If you look at this top and you look at this top, this one is still the highest top. Therefore, in my opinion, it looks like we have one more, at least one more, a push up to break this top potentially possible. It looks like a fourth wave at the moment here, and I would expect a break of this top still one more time, maybe more, but one time seems the most likely. Now, maybe it will not happen, I don't know. We did bounce off the 38.2 fib already, so this is looking consolidating. This looks like a chart pattern, a contracting wedge. So looking at the characteristics of price action at the moment, it seems decent probability that this would be a wave 4 and we go up for wave 5 up to the -2 target, which is at 172.35. Maybe even up to this -618 target, the 173. After that, there is that probability that the trend could temporarily see retracement and we see maybe price making a bigger retracement. That is something that wouldn't surprise me at that point. Does it mean that the uptrend is totally out of scope when that happens? No. What could happen, once again, let's assume that this is correct and price does bounce up here to 173, let's say, that makes a correction maybe back to 170, right? Uses this bottom of the uptrend channel as a support, uses the psychological 170 and the broken 170.40 top as a supporting level, as a bouncing level for further upside, and then you see a bounce again. That could happen. I mean, it's a scenario, realistic scenario. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but upside, then downside, and then upside again for further gains, and maybe all the way up to 180. It's something that is certainly in the cards and worth thinking about. Maybe at least that's what I will be keeping an eye on this pound dollar. So that's my main focus for the time being. Odd USD. Odd USD is a bit of a funny, exception, or it's a situation because it had I said last week it's not as clear as the euro and pound dollar. That upside seemed likely. It didn't go as far maybe as I could have expected, but it did make that upside. Odd USD I didn't find it was bullish, but not as pleasantly bullish as the others, in my opinion at least. We did get the break to the upside, but it was more like a spike for further downside then. What happened? What was this? What does this mean? Basically, we had an uptrend channel, and price broke out of that uptrend channel, but it's still above the horizontal support level. So is it now a downtrend? Not yet, in my opinion. It isn't an uptrend, but it isn't a downtrend either because it hasn't broken the support. It's in a limbo, it's in a grayish area, and I want to see more confirmation before making a judgment or decision on either way. In fact, we do have a lot of momentum here. It's a big, fast fall that broke out of the uptrend channel, but we haven't broken this support level yet. So let's zoom out and take a look at the monthly. Bullish candle, in fact. Look at that. Bullish candle. And the close of the June was very near the high of June. So here too, I would expect with that price action bullishness. Last month's low at 92.30 would be an important level because if we break that, we could see further downside bearish trend continuing. This is the weekly chart. We see besides the last month's low, 2 weekly bottoms as well. Last week was a bearish candle, obviously a very strong bearish candle. And on the daily chart, this is looking like an upside. This is looking like correction and almost like a false breakout here, and then a follow through for more downside. So we'll have to see. If we break below 93.20, there's a decent chance of going down to 92.30, and below that even for more downside there. These are the boxes I see to the downside. So I'm looking for confirmations. All right, when certain levels get broken, and those levels for me, important levels are this bottom and this bottom for downside. If those levels get broken, more downside potential. If upside is a bit more tricky, I would say we need a break of all the way this top basically, because what happened, that top did respect the 78.6 fib at 95. So for upside, I would really want to see that break up to 96.30. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. However, we can see there's a potential to retrace this big fall. That could happen. And let's see. This is looking more like a bear flag, but we'll have to see. This is also a potential triangle. We got here a line, I would say, and here a potential line. That triangle in play. Let's see which side it breaks out to. If it breaks to the upside, retracement of that fall could happen. If it breaks to the downside, a continuation of that fall could happen. All right, so we have to see. Now I heard that someone is telling me the audio got cut off. So I hope that you still hear me. All right, good. I got confirmation from the organizer that you can hear me. Good. Max was saying also previous to that I use the 1 to 1000. Maybe Max is referring to that the odd USD could get to parity. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, we never know. Parity is quite high, all the way here. It's possible. It would be quite a big up move indeed. Basically, be the minus 618 target of this upside. So we'll have to see. Price moved up, hit the 23.6. It's possible that it can get there. Be a big, nice uptrend. We'll have to see. Right now we have this upside followed by a correction. We don't know if that is just a pause for further downside or indeed a potential upside. If it does break to the upside, maybe we can get there indeed. All right. So no worries, Max. By the way, I gladly see the comments. By the way, so that's why I know that I like the interaction. So no worries about that. So this is basically the odd USD. Interesting to see what's going to happen with that one. Right here at that support level, we're going to break or bounce to the upside. Dollar yen, basically consolidating, going sideways right here. and this has been about 6 months already sideways move. The uptrend ended last year at the very last day of the last year, and we had retracement in January and gone sideways for the rest of the year. Now it looks like we're getting some follow through, some bounce here at the 78.6 fib, and well, because it's consolidation, it's difficult to say. We could do anything. We can move down here and then up again and down and up and down and stay there for another 3 months. Who knows? Maybe there's a decent chance of seeing some upside like this up to the minus 272 target, or maybe the minus 618. But basically, to get really a better picture of a long-term vision, let's take a look at the weekly chart. And well, you can see that we need to basically box out of this 104 level to really get in a potential breakout on this weekly chart to the upside, or below the 180 for a breakout to the downside. Because we're just stuck in between this range. As long as we stay in between those levels, the range could last for longer than we think. So to break out of that range, we need to break above 104.20 or below 100.80 for some down or upside potential. If we do break to the upside, we're also breaking a big monthly trend line, by the way, and we can see a further extension of this dollar-yen uptrend. And if we break below 180, we could see a bigger retracement because we did already have 5 waves completed. So we're not 100% sure. There is definitely that chance that this is just a B, C correction. That could happen. 5 waves could have been finished here earlier than I expected in that case, but it's possible. So in that regard, consolidation, and we'll have to see if price can break out of it. In the short term, though, all that I see is potential is basically price going up to these trend lines and then potentially breaking it for a bit of a smaller upside. But the other potentials may be some resistances here and here. There's really nothing very fun that I would be trading here. Let's take a look at gold. Let's see, this is XAU USD. We had a very bullish monthly candle engulfing the month of May. Weekly chart is showing, though, however, some struggle with wicks at the top. But overall, obviously, we had a strong downtrend, one that I was personally expecting. I was looking for 1250, went all the way down to 1180. This was because of this pattern that indeed unfolded. We got a strong up spike, but then back down to double bottom and then bounced again with a surge and a potential retracement, and now again up. So it's going to be difficult to have an idea about this longer future. Is this still a consolidation for more downside? It's possible. Or is this actually an upside? And did we have a correction like this for more upside again? Both are really possible. I'll let the lines speak for themselves. And I'll be looking for basically a break below this bottom for some downside to 1180. But obviously the 1180 break will be needed before you get more bigger downside potential. The other option is a break above this top of 1330. We could see maybe some acceleration up to 1380, and then up to maybe 1420, and then maybe up to 1480 as we build up and up, up and up and up on this uptrend potential, right? But for the moment, cautious because I want to see a break of the top and bottom here for that clarity what is more likely. Right there, we got a support line. We'll have to see if price and where price will bounce off. Because on the 4-hour chart, this is a very strong momentum to the upside. So even if price does break to the downside, be careful of the 50 fib. Be careful of the 61.8 fib. Those could all be bouncing spots. And in fact, maybe, just maybe, we'll be even breaking above this trend line, right, for upside. So I'll be basically looking as more of a bullish structure at the moment, but it could dip first down. Sorry, it could dip down first. I'm having a problem with my drawing tool. 1 second. Okay, it doesn't matter. It could dip down first before going up, or it could break up to the upside immediately. Right? That's something I'm looking at. if one of the two could happen. If it does finally move up, then we can see resistances maybe here. That's something to be careful of. Or if we do move down, we have obviously the potential support. If we break that support, then we could see maybe some downside acceleration. Max was referring to dollar CAD. It's something we can take a look at on this daily chart or weekly chart, maybe even. Be careful because there is the potential. Sorry, didn't have this prepared yet. Alrighty. Be careful of the fact that, sorry, there's another fib I want to get rid of. One second, folks. Let's see. This is the weekly chart. We got this trend line here. Now, will that act as a support? We don't know. But if we break that level, there could be a serious continuation of this downtrend. I mean, it's been already trending pretty strongly to the downside with a good impulse, correction, and continuation. If you put a fib on this very first downside here, you see that 106 could be the bouncing spot. But if we break below 106, we could see accelerations to 103, 50, 101.70, and then probably even further. On this weekly chart, we can see that there's a bottom here at 10, what is it, 102? 102.50. Maybe even up to down to parity, as Max said. There's another support level at parity as well. But those could be all the downside targets. We'll have to see if we can break below 106, though, I would say. 106 for me would be something to be wary of because that could be a bouncing spot. So we have to see how price responds here at 106. Does it push through or does it start bouncing up? On this 4-hour chart, we can see this tremendous downtrend. So one thing, could be maybe this trend line like that or a trend like that. To get an idea, what could happen first? The downside continuation or maybe the counter trend retracement idea. All right, so we'll have to see. Well, folks, the others that you mentioned, Max, I don't usually look at, so I wouldn't be able to help that much on those. And thanks, Max. Glad that you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week, and I hope to see your comments and other comments too. No, I gladly appreciate the comments, in fact, because I like the interaction. So for me, the more comments, the better, in fact. So don't forget, you can take a look at the recording if you register yourself at blog.binary.com/weekly trading room. We'll be back next week, 14th of July, Monday, as always, same time, same place. This is the wrong slide. Right there. There it is. Alrighty. Well, thank you, Max, for all your comments. Glad that you find it useful and that you're here. And that's for everyone, by the way. Thanks for joining us. And, well, great trading, a great day, and see you soon. Cheers.